Hello, class. Let's take a look as to how to generate a new set of drawings for this project. Okay, and we're going to be working with the set of drawings that some of you guys might be familiar with already, which is this axonometric drawings diagrams. And we'll see how to. And again, this is just a little test that I was playing with to prepare the lecture. So we're gonna change color so that we can assignate line weights, as I've done right here, line types, as I've done right here and right here. And we're going to be looking into how to generate these drawings using the make2d command and maybe a few new commands along the way. Okay, so let's take a look. So what I would recommend is to start by opening up your previous file, where we generated these two sheets right here. Those are the PDFs, but for me that would be this. Well, actually, it was this file right here. What I would suggest is to do a file, save as, and give it a new name, and I did, right, as I did. I think I have right, drawings prep right here, and I gave it a part 2, something like that, just so you can always go back to previous file. It always helps to have that trace. Some of you guys might have already realized that. Some of you guys, well, you might run into it. It's always good to have backups and benchmarks that you can always go back to. So as you do that, you basically have the same file. You have the same file that you ended up with last time. Okay. Additionally, you will need drawings that we did way back when we were putting together the template for your project. So kind of like this file right here, particularly well, for starters, the one where you were aggregating the pieces together so that you can merge them into an integrated final model. And that's actually what we're trying to showcase in this new set of drawings: a aggregated model, a merged model, and then the exploded axonometric diagram that kind of explains how we got from the original pieces to here, right? So once you have your model set up, let's take a look at our layers. We might need to adjust or create new layers, but let's start by bringing in copies of those drawings. So I'm right here on my other screen. I'm gonna bring in this file right here, or this model. I'm gonna bring it in here, and there it is. So I just did a control copy, control paste from that previous file. Okay, and I'm also going to copy the merge version right next to it. I'm gonna work somewhere out here on the side. And additionally, I think it would be good to have the original template, the original 2D template, and the extruded units. Okay, so I'm gonna select those, control copy, and control paste onto this file right here. Okay, and I'm gonna bring these two. Let's maybe put this in order. So this was how we ended up. This is how we started, kind of. So kind of like flipping them like that. And again, we'll probably, as a matter of fact, right? You know me. I'll create a copy of all of this so that we can always go back to that. Okay, so we can maybe talk about views. Hopefully you're familiar. Set views, and you have this array right here. These options. Most likely we're working in the perspective view, right? But we're going to be working on our isometric view. And as you can see with the isometric, you have a few options. It's quite straightforward. right? If we draw an arrow that way, we'll see we have north right here, we have south right here, we have east, and we have west over here. And you see that on these isometric views, set views isometric, they're defined by I guess a combination of these two: northeast, southwest, southeast, southwest, and that's what that stands for, right? So southeast, right, would give you this view, actually a little kind of like what I have right now. That would be your southeast. This would be sort of your southwest. This would be your north east. This would be your northwest. Okay, and it's setting it up is simple. So I'm going to be working on the southeast, I believe. So set view, isometric southeast view. Notice how you get a view of your entire screen, and you get that rigid isometric view, right? You have your axis, right, going this way, and your axis this way. Now, again, in order to keep it as a true isometric view, you want to make sure that you don't rotate or that you don't orbit. As you do that, you break the original state of that isometric, which is not bad necessarily, but since we actually want to keep that angle consistent in all of our drawings, it gets hard to duplicate that, and it's just easier if we can actually just depend on the presets that we have right here. So again, I'll set up the southeast, and if you need to navigate here, so you want to hold control and right click, and you can do what's called the dynamic zoom. We're actually going to be using this, and we've used this. So again, control key, right click, move your cursor up and down, and you get your dynamic zoom, which is better in my opinion, or more a little bit more precise than the wheel, just the wheel, because it does like this clunky intervals, right? Like click, 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 click. But the dynamic one, holding control and then right click, so you can create a much smoother and controlled zoomed in or out of the model. And then if you need to pan, well, we'll just do the pan with the holding the shift key, right click, and panning. Okay, so let's start with something simple, such as this model right here. So I always get I guess paranoid that I am on the right view, so I don't know if I maybe did something that threw it off. So I'm just gonna one more time go to southeast view, and there we go, navigate over here. So we're going to create a make 2D for this object, make 2D. So we want to select the object that we want to make 2D, right click. This option comes in that I think we've seen before. And let's see, view, yes, we want the lines inside. From input objects by output layers, maintain source layers. Let's go ahead and keep maintain source layers and click OK. And we did this for your elevations and sections. So hopefully it's just a review. And I'm going to bring this right here to the side. Okay. And let's go ahead and create a new viewport. So we should have these two viewports right here. So new layout. I'm sorry, let's go ahead and create a new layout. We'll call this Axon diagrams. This is going to be our sheet. We'll do tabloid, which is your 11 by 17. We'll do a landscape. We'll click OK. And we have a viewport over here. Okay. We're going to minimize this or make this smaller. This viewport is smaller. And we're going to double click in it. And we're going to zoom in so that we get our model here. Now, as a diagram, I like to include sort of an outline that actually showcases how this this cube, or I'm sorry, how this model actually fits on a 4x4 cube, right? That we have used to keep our model to. So let's see how we can do that. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to the model parallel view right here, and I can start off with a cube. So I'm gonna go right here on the box corner right here. So click there. Right now I'm on a random layer, but I'm gonna click, and then I think we should be able to do at 4 inches, comma 4 inches, right? So that defines the footprint, the 4x4, and then I can go 4 inches tall, right? Because I think that's what we were using, right? So if I type move, select this right here and bring it over here, you see how that model, and whenever your zoom is not working right, right now the center of my zoom is somewhere over here. So if I orbit over here, see how it's hardest to work with. You can just select the object, click right here where it says zoom selected, and your orbit gets recentered. There might be probably another better way of doing that, but I know that one works for sure. So we have this cube that actually is our bounding box, where if we were to pick any model by anyone working on this exercise, their model should fit in there, right? Let's go ahead and assign it its own layer. I think this layer 4 is not used, so you can right click on the layer, and you can click right here. It says select objects, and it says no objects added to selection. So that means that that layer is empty. So I can double click on it, and I'll put right here 4-inch cube. Okay, 4-inch cube, and give it a different color so that I know that we kind of like touched it. Okay, select the object, and then assign it the new layer. All right, now I'll show you guys a command some of you guys might be familiar with, maybe not. It's called extract wireframe. Extract wireframe. Select that cube, enter, and notice that there's a selection, and I'm gonna click on my gumball right here, and I'm gonna move it right here to the side and click out. So what happened, right? I extracted the framework of that model, and of course right now it's in the wrong layer, because we know that should be in the 4-inch cube, right? So it's the wireframe, meaning that if I was to grab, and let me get myself on that layer, activate that layer. If I was to get myself, say, a polyline, and I was kind of like tracing it all around, right? Kind of clicking and clicking right here, right? I'm tracing the outline of that shape, right? But we have a command that actually can do that for us, which again is I'm gonna undo this so I can delete this. That actually helps us do that. And well, test it, for example, over here, right? So if I type extract wireframe, select that object right there, there's a few options right here. Group output. I like to group it. I guess there's always a time where not to group it. And then there's the output layer, right, which you can select output layer, input, or the current. So the input, if I'm not mistaken, would be this pink color, because that's the input object, or the current would be whatever layer you're on right here. So I'll do the current. Let's see what we get. I'll select that object, enter. Notice that if I click out, the lines stay there. But since they're grouped, the good thing is that I can click on it, right? And I can either select the poly object, or I can select, I'm gonna undo, or I can select the extracted wireframe, which is a group. It says extract wireframe. So I'm gonna select that. move it out here, and you see how well we ended up with that. Whoops, we don't want that. And that can be helpful for many applications, but in this case it will serve I think a very simple one. But it's always cool to look at this, especially in that isometric view. Right, just for fun. Let's see how this looks. Set view, isometric, southeast, and then again zoom up here, zoom selected, and yeah, looks very confusing. Not so much like what we actually have, right? But it's a nice visual effect. Okay, we can move this out to the side for now, because what we needed really, the only thing that we need is this cube right here that I'm going to type move. I'm going to bring it here, and notice how nicely it gives us that bounding box that we're going to use to assign line weights and line types, so that we can actually represent, right, how it's being bound, how the object is being bound by it. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and set yourself up on this view right here. Extract the cube, set yourself up on the again southeast view, zoom in there so that zoom selected. All right, and let's go ahead and generate a make 2D. All right, select right here, enter, maintain source layers here. Okay, click OK, and we get our results out here. Let's go ahead and bring it over here. Okay, and this is a little bit more more like what we're trying to do. Okay, and then lastly, let's do one more exercise right here. What happens if we do them separately, right? Because I actually want us to see what the graphical difference of being overlapped versus individual be. And what I mean by that is select the cube, just the wireframe, zoom select. Well, actually, we should have done the set the view, southeast, select the cube, zoom selected, type make 2D, enter, click OK, drag your output. I'm gonna go to my top view, and I can type move, select this objects right here, and snap right there. And so we have these two different results that may or may not seem like a big difference, but let's take a look. Okay, so meet me back on this stage, and we'll continue assigning line types, line weights, and developing our diagram.